You gave your all, loyalty, honesty, dedication, and yet you were left questioning what went wrong. That quiet ache in your chest, the one you carry alone, is all too familiar. Because in today's world, genuine love isn't celebrated. It's often punished. Sincerity is mistaken for weakness. Centuries ago, Machiavelli saw the truth of this dynamic. In a world where love becomes transactional, the one who cares the most usually suffers the most. If you're exhausted by trying to win a game you never signed up for, keep listening. This isn't just advice, it's your wake-up call. We grow up with a certain idea of love, that it's about honesty, effort, and loyalty. We're told that if we show up fully, vulnerably, and without playing games, we'll be recognized and cherished. So you opened up, gave your whole self, remained faithful, and hoped that being real would be enough. But modern love doesn't value what's real. It chases what's appealing. It's not about how loyal or genuine you are. It's about how intriguing, distant, or unavailable you appear to be. People today often fall in love with the idea of someone, not the actual person. They crave the rush of validation, not the quiet work of building real connection. That's the trap. You're showing up with authenticity, while others are performing. As Machiavelli said, men judge more by what they see than by what they touch. Meaning, appearance often outweighs substance. So if you seem too open, too stable, too available, they didn't see your depth. They mistook it for monotony. But the truth is, you weren't boring. You were honest. And in a culture obsessed with illusions, authenticity is overlooked. So let this sink in. You didn't lose because you lacked value. You lost because they chose a mask over a person. That speaks to the broken system we now navigate. Not your worth. Now that you see the game for what it is, you'll never engage with it the same way again. Relationships today often feel more like negotiations than connections. You try to show up fully, give sincerely, and stay present, but it begins to feel like a subtle contest. Who cares less? Who texts last? Who walks away first? What should be a bond becomes a tug of war. This is where the real hurt begins. The person who loves with more depth often ends up wounded faster. Why? Because love isn't the currency anymore, leverage is. Leverage means holding control without showing your hand. Silence becomes a tactic. Distance a way to assert power, affection. A calculated move to keep someone uncertain. This isn't love, it's manipulation dressed up as romance. Long before dating apps, Machiavelli noted it is better to be feared than loved if one cannot be both. In other words, power lies in control, and in relationships today, control often looks like emotional detachment. If you stay cool, unbothered, emotionally distant, you're seen as strong. But if you express love openly, offer clarity, or show vulnerability too early, you're labeled as needy or weak. It's a brutal reversal of what love is meant to be, and yet, it's the reality many now face. You may have entered the relationship believing love was about giving, but they viewed it as a game and the goal was dominance. So if you're confused, if you're wondering why caring deeply always seems to lead to pain, you're not imagining things. You're just now beginning to understand the rules of a game most people play without realizing the cost. You didn't lose because you were weak. You lost because you loved without reservation in a time when detachment is seen as strength. You gave your time, your attention, your heart, believing that love meant showing up without hesitation. No hidden agenda, no games, just being fully present. But in today's dynamic, presence is penalized. The one who invests more emotionally often ends up with less. Machiavelli once warned, "A wise man never puts all his fortune on one anchor." But you did. You made her the center of your peace, your self-worth, your emotional balance. And when she left, it felt like she took parts of you with her pieces you handed over without even realizing. This isn't because love itself is flawed. It's because the structure we're navigating punishes the person who loves with no restraint. Being too open, too available, too emotionally sincere costs you leverage, and in modern dating, emotional control has become the currency of power. You weren't too much. You were just too genuine in a world that thrives on ambiguity. Too stable in a culture that rewards distance and disconnection. But the lesson here isn't to harden your heart forever. It's to start protecting your peace as fiercely as you once protected her feelings. Because it's your peace, not your passion, that truly sustains your power. Moving forward, the goal isn't to stop caring. It's to care wisely. Love, but don't lose yourself. Give, but don't disappear. Be present, but stay grounded in your own worth. This is how you convert pain into strength and stop paying the emotional price again. You thought loyalty would make you stand out, that showing up consistently, being transparent, and giving your all would earn her respect. You believed that in a world full of half-truths and hidden motives, your clarity would shine. But here's the reality. Loyalty doesn't always set you apart anymore. It often makes you predictable. In today's world, many aren't looking for commitment, they're looking for options. They want the thrill of being desired, not the responsibility of being chosen. And when you're always there, always understanding, always dependable, your presence stops feeling special. It starts to feel expected. That's when the shift happens. You go from being cherished to being taken for granted, from being irreplaceable to being easily overlooked. Machiavelli understood this too. He warned that people quickly forget the good done for them. And in today's relationships, the more you give, the more your efforts risk being forgotten. Machiavelli never advised rulers to reward loyalty. He told them to use it, to treat it as a tool rather than a treasure. And that's exactly what happened to you. Your commitment became routine. Your love faded into the background. While you remained consistent, faithful, and transparent, she redirected her focus to someone who offered her less. Less stability, less honesty, less peace. Not because he was better, but because he was harder to access. You weren't uninteresting. You were simply too available. And in a world infatuated with emotional uncertainty, your consistency made you easy to overlook. This isn't about being too nice. It's about over-investing in someone who only values what they have to earn. So here's the real lesson Machiavelli would offer you today. Don't withdraw your loyalty, just raise your standards. The right people won't see your consistency as weakness, they'll rise to meet it. But anyone who treats your devotion as a guarantee, let them chase the very instability they mistake for passion, while you become the force they never expected. Subtle power of emotional distance. She wasn't colder than you. She wasn't stronger, wiser, or more confident. She was simply playing a different game, one you didn't know existed. While you were seeking connection, she was seeking control. In today's dating landscape, the rules have changed. Indifference is now mistaken for strength, and the one who holds back emotionally holds the upper hand, not because they love better, but because they reveal less. You were upfront. You communicated clearly. You didn't leave her guessing, but she gave you silence, not because she was confused, but because she knew silence would make you pursue her. And once you started chasing, she gained the advantage. That's not indecisiveness, it's strategy. Machiavelli understood this long ago. He wrote, "A man who always acts with virtue will come to ruin among those who are not good." Simply put, if you show your cards too early, the world won't reward you. It will exploit you. Emotional honesty is no longer prized. Instead, withholding, being just distant enough to keep someone off balance, is what's applauded. While you were hoping for mutual openness, she was measuring how far you'd go without getting the same in return. She wasn't lost, she was calculated. She understood that tension creates emotional addiction, and distance keeps people chasing. That's why you stayed. Not because her love was deeper, but because she knew how to vanish just long enough to keep you hooked. And here's the risk. If you don't learn to protect your access, not your love, but your availability, you'll keep losing to people who never gave half of what you did. This isn't authentic connection. It's manipulation. It's a performance wrapped in the illusion of intimacy. If you want to stop getting hurt, you have to embrace what Machiavelli understood. Power lies in what you withhold, not what you give away. Why you keep getting replaced, you did everything right. You were reliable, loyal, genuine. You didn't play games. You didn't vanish when things got complicated. You stayed. You offered real presence, and yet she pulled away. She distanced herself. She walked out. Now you're left wondering why. Here's the truth most won't admit. She wasn't looking for peace. She was craving a rush. She didn't want steadiness. She wanted unpredictability. You offered emotional safety, but she was addicted to the drama of uncertainty. That's why she left after you gave her your best. Not because you lacked value, but because calmness felt foreign to her. Some people become so conditioned to emotional chaos that when they finally encounter real peace, they don't trust it. They reject it. They sabotage it. They abandon it in pursuit of an emotional high that never truly satisfies. Machiavelli understood this facet of human nature well. He once wrote, "People are ungrateful, unreliable, deceptive. They claim to want love, to long for something real, but when it arrives and demands commitment, vulnerability, and depth, they often retreat. They run toward fantasy because fantasy never requires accountability. So understand this clearly. You weren't too much. You were simply too real for someone who only knew how to chase illusions, how to embrace clarity in the chaos. You didn't let her down. She let herself down by choosing appearance over authenticity, distraction over depth, a fleeting moment over someone real. And you didn't lose anything. You simply chose not to play a role in someone else's illusion. That's not defeat, that's strength. Stop romanticizing the wrong narrative. You were led to believe that kindness would win her love, that patience would reveal your value, that loyalty would earn you a place in her life. But today's version of love doesn't work that way. It's not about being good, it's about crafting the most compelling story. In your story, you were the consistent one, the protector, the steady presence. But in hers, she was the main character, and you were just another chapter one. She could close the moment it suited her. Machiavelli warned us. He who controls the story controls the ending. Because in both love and power, perception is everything. If she gets to define how it unfolded, what your intentions meant, how important you were, and how easily you could be replaced, she also gets to determine when and how the story ends. Truth is, she shaped the narrative to protect her comfort. You were building something sincere. She was building a version of events that gave her control. And as long as you keep playing the silent, loyal role, you'll keep being written out. It's time to stop clinging to the old belief that being good is enough. You don't have to become cold, but you do need to become aware. The moment you stop following her script is the moment you stop being disposable. The Machiavellian shift. You've seen it firsthand. You gave your best, your time, your energy, your love, and watched as it was taken for granted. Now you stand at a crossroads. Stay broken or grow wiser. This is what I call the Machiavellian shift. The moment you stop navigating love with blind hope and start moving with open eyes. It doesn't mean becoming heartless, it means becoming strategic. Not numb, but discerning. You no longer explain yourself endlessly. You no longer give your energy to those who haven't earned it. And most importantly, you stop assuming your love alone will be enough to keep someone from walking away, because now you understand that at one single T. Instead, you watch, you listen, you wait. You let people show you who they are before deciding what they get from you. That's not manipulation, it's maturity. Machiavelli didn't believe in wishing the world were fair. He believed in facing reality and adapting. He once said, "A man who ignores what is done in favor of what should be done will find his ruin instead of preservation." In simpler terms, if you live by ideals in a world built on strategy, you'll suffer. But when you accept things as they are, you stop surviving, you start winning. This shift doesn't kill your heart, it sharpens it. It teaches you to lead with both instinct and intellect. You don't love less out of fear. You love smarter because you've learned. You don't stop caring, you stop collapsing. You don't wait to be chosen, you choose. The exit strategy. Here's a difficult truth. The trap only works if you keep yourself in it. If you keep reaching out, sending that final message, hoping one more effort will change her mind, that's how the cycle continues. It survives on your hope, on your waiting, on the silence you keep filling with desperate thoughts. But one day, something inside you breaks, not with rage, but with clarity. You realize nothing changes until you detach. Not just emotionally, but mentally. You stop needing her to validate your worth. You stop obsessing over conversations trying to find a mistake that was never yours. You stop anchoring your self-esteem to whether she reaches back out. That's when the exit appears, not in the world around you, but within you. Reclaiming your power. The new standard. Machiavelli never begged to be loved. His sense of identity was never tied to being accepted or chosen. He understood something deeper. True influence isn't found in being wanted, but in commanding respect, without ever needing approval. And that's where you are now. You're not pulling away to hurt her. You're not going silent to make her miss you. This isn't revenge. It's not about proving a point. It's about reconnecting with the version of yourself that got buried under all the overthinking, overgiving, and over-explaining. The version of you who didn't wait for replies that never came, who didn't delude himself just to be tolerated. You lost parts of yourself in that relationship, your confidence, your calm, your drive. Now it's time to reclaim them. You walk away because you've outgrown the crumbs you once settled for, because the version of you that chased approval no longer leads. Sometimes the most powerful move isn't confrontation, it's silence, not out of weakness but clarity. You don't storm out, you rise. That's the real exit, and it's been waiting for you all along. This is the turning point. Your story shifts here. Not because someone finally recognized your worth, not because she came back with closure, and certainly not because the world suddenly started playing fair. It changes because you stopped waiting for any of that to happen. You've tried being the patient one, the understanding one, the one who gave more chances than were deserved. You offered explanations even when they cost you your self-respect. But that version of you, he's done. Not bitter, just aware. Not heartless, just no longer so easy to access. Because real power isn't about dominating, it's about being deliberate. You become selective. You stop showing up for those who disappear when you need them most. You stop giving to takers. And most importantly, you stop responding to every silence, every test, every emotional tug of war. That's how you take your power back, not by being louder, but by becoming immune to the noise. Not by chasing love, but by walking away from anyone who confuses it with control. See the game. Rise above it. Machiavelli thrived not by expecting fairness, but by understanding the mechanics of human behavior. He knew that kindness doesn't always move people, but absence often does. He wrote, "One must be a fox to detect traps, and a lion to frighten wolves." And that's who you're becoming. Clever enough to see the patterns, strong enough never to beg for a place in them again. You've seen modern love for what it can be, a stage for manipulation, confusion, and performative affection. The escape you've been searching for, it was never outside of you. It's always been within. And now, after everything, you finally say, enough. You don't rebuild as someone weaker. You come back untouchable. Final words. This is awakening. If this hurts, that's good. It means something inside you is waking up. You're not here to be broken again. You're here to rebuild, not as someone who just feels deeply, but as someone who sees clearly. This isn't the death of love. It's the end of being blind to its distortions, and your first step into something real built on clarity, calm, and control. If this message resonated, if it echoed something inside you that the world rarely speaks to, don't ignore that. Most people go numb. They scroll past. They avoid the mirror, but not you. You're still here, and that means something in you is ready to rise. Here at the Blackened Mind, we don't sugarcoat reality. We face it. We dismantle the lies you were fed about love, identity, and emotional power. So if you're done being played, if you're ready to develop a mindset they can't manipulate, subscribe. This isn't just content. This is your turning point.